World War I, known as the Great War, was a global conflict that lasted from 1914 to 1918. It involved most of the world's great powers at the time, including countries in Europe, the Americas, Asia, and Africa. The war is considered one of the deadliest conflicts in history, leading to the mobilization of over 70 million military personnel. It introduced new technologies and warfare strategies, marking a significant shift from traditional combat. The war began on July 28, 1914, and ended on November 11, 1918. It was largely fought in Europe along two fronts, the Western Front and the Eastern Front. The Western Front was characterized by trench warfare, a grueling and stagnant form of combat, while the Eastern Front was more fluid, with large movements in troop positions. The conflict soon spread globally, involving overseas colonies and prompting battles across seas. The Great War saw unprecedented levels of destruction and loss of life. It reshaped political boundaries and set the stage for many geopolitical changes. With the involvement of major powers like the United Kingdom, France, the Russian Empire, Germany, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and later the United States, the war's influence extended globally. Understanding the causes, key events, and outcomes of World War I helps us comprehend its profound impact on the 20th century and beyond. Through this essay, we will delve into the origins of the conflict, its significant battles, and its lasting legacy on the modern world. The causes of World War I are complex and multifaceted, rooted in political, economic, and social factors. One of the primary causes was nationalism, a strong sense of pride and loyalty to one's nation. Nationalism led to rivalries among European powers, each seeking to assert dominance and protect their interests. This intense nationalism fueled distrust and competition. Another significant cause was the complex system of alliances that had developed across Europe. Countries formed partnerships to strengthen their positions, but these alliances also meant that a conflict involving one nation could quickly escalate to involve others. The Triple Alliance, comprising Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, faced off against the Triple Entente, which included France, Russia, and the United Kingdom. Militarism also played a crucial role as European nations engaged in an arms race to build powerful military forces. This militaristic culture glorified war and readiness, making nations more inclined to resort to military solutions for conflicts. The arms race increased tensions and made diplomacy less effective in resolving disputes. Finally, imperialism, the competition for overseas colonies, contributed to the war's outbreak. European powers competed fiercely for territorial expansion, leading to conflicts and rivalries outside Europe. These imperial tensions added to the already volatile situation on the continent, setting the stage for a global conflict when local events spiraled out of control. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria on June 28, 1914 is often cited as the immediate trigger of World War I. Franz Ferdinand was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his death set off a chain reaction among the great powers. The assassination took place in Sarajevo, Bosnia, by Gavrilo Princip, a member of a nationalist group seeking independence for Slavic peoples from Austro-Hungarian rule. Austria-Hungary saw the assassination as an opportunity to assert its power and issued an ultimatum to Serbia, where the assassins were believed to have originated. Serbia's response was seen as insufficient, leading Austria-Hungary to declare war on July 28, 1914. This declaration set in motion a series of events due to the web of alliances. Russia, bound by treaty to Serbia, began to mobilize its forces to defend its ally. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, viewed Russian mobilization as an act of war and declared war on Russia. France, allied with Russia, found itself drawn into the conflict against Germany and Austria-Hungary. Within weeks, the major powers of Europe were at war. The assassination of Franz Ferdinand exemplifies how a seemingly isolated incident can trigger widespread conflict due to underlying tensions and alliances. It highlights the fragile state of international relations at the time and the ease with which a small spark could ignite a massive war. World War I was marked by several significant battles that shaped the course of the conflict. One of the earliest major battles was the Battle of the Marne, fought in September 1914. which halted the German advance into France and set the stage for trench warfare on the Western Front. This battle demonstrated the resilience of the Allied forces and the challenges of modern warfare. The Battle of Verdun in 1916 was another crucial engagement, lasting over 10 months and resulting in heavy casualties. It became a symbol of French determination and was one of the longest and most grueling battles of the war. Similarly, the Battle of the Somme, also in 1916, was notable for its scale and the introduction of the tank as a new weapon, though it resulted in massive losses on both sides. In 1917, the entry of the United States into the war marked a turning point. The fresh American troops and resources bolstered the weary Allied forces, shifting the balance of power. The US involvement provided a significant morale boost and helped to tip the scales in favor of the Allies. The final series of battles, known as the 100 Days Offensive, began in August 1918. This Allied offensive pushed the exhausted German forces back and ultimately led to the signing of the armistice on November 11, 1918. These battles demonstrated the evolution of warfare and the high cost of the conflict. Section 5. The War's End and the Treaty of Versailles. The end of World War I was marked by the signing of the armistice on November 11, 1918, which ceased hostilities. However, the formal conclusion of the war came with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles on June 28, 1919. The treaty was negotiated at the Paris Peace Conference, where the victorious Allied powers sought to establish terms for peace and ensure future security. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh penalties on Germany, holding it responsible for the war. Germany was required to accept full blame, pay reparations, and cede territory. The treaty also led to the redrawing of national borders, creating new countries and altering the political landscape of Europe. It aimed to weaken Germany and prevent future aggression, but it also sowed seeds of resentment. The League of Nations was established as part of the treaty, intended to promote international cooperation and prevent future conflicts. However, it lacked the power to enforce its decisions effectively, partly because the United States, despite President Wilson's advocacy, did not join. The Treaty of Versailles had significant ramifications, leading to economic hardship in Germany and contributing to the rise of political extremism. Many historians argue that the treaty's terms laid the groundwork for World War II, as the desire for revenge and recovery of lost prestige grew in Germany. Section 6. Aftermath and long-term consequences. The aftermath of World War I brought profound changes to the world. Politically, the war led to the collapse of empires, including the Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, German, and Russian empires. These collapses created power vacuums and led to the emergence of new nations and political systems, including the rise of communism in Russia. Economically, the war devastated European economies, leading to inflation, debt, and social unrest. The war effort had drained national resources, and rebuilding was a slow and challenging process. The Great Depression of the 1930s further compounded these economic difficulties, affecting global trade and stability. Socially, the war changed perceptions and attitudes. The enormous loss of life and the brutal nature of trench warfare caused widespread disillusionment. Many people questioned traditional values and authority, leading to cultural shifts in art, literature, and philosophy. The lost generation emerged, reflecting the disorientation and emptiness felt by many survivors. The long-term consequences of World War I were far-reaching, setting the stage for future conflicts and shaping the 20th century. The war altered international relations, leading to shifts in power and the eventual rise of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers. It also left unresolved tensions that would later erupt into World War II. Section 7. Impact on soldiers and civilians. World War I had a profound impact on both soldiers and civilians, altering lives and societies in dramatic ways. Soldiers faced the horrors of trench warfare, enduring harsh conditions, constant danger, and psychological strain. Many who survived returned home with physical injuries and mental trauma known as shell shock, now recognized as post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. The war also brought significant challenges to civilian populations. With millions of men conscripted, women took on roles traditionally held by men, working in factories and fields to support the war effort. This shift contributed to changing gender roles and was a step towards greater gender equality, although full equality was still far from realized. Civilians experienced shortages of food and goods due to the war's demands on national resources. Rationing became common, and the economic strain led to hardship and unrest. In occupied territories, civilians suffered under harsh military rule and displacement, with many becoming refugees. The impact of the war on individuals and communities was profound, leaving a legacy of loss, change, and resilience. The experiences of soldiers and civilians during this time highlighted the human cost of war and the need for peace and reconciliation in its aftermath. Section 8: Technological and Strategic Innovations. World War I was a period of significant technological and strategic innovations that changed the nature of warfare. The introduction of new weapons and tactics made combat more deadly and complex. One of the key innovations was the use of tanks, which were first deployed by the British during the Battle of the Somme. Tanks could cross difficult terrain and provided a new means of breaking through enemy lines. Aircraft also played a new role in warfare, with reconnaissance planes gathering intelligence and fighter planes engaging in aerial combat. The war saw the first use of strategic bombing, as planes targeted industrial and civilian areas. These developments marked the beginning of air warfare, which would become crucial in later conflicts. Chemical warfare was another grim innovation, with the use of poison gas causing severe injuries and fear among troops. Gas masks became a necessary piece of equipment for soldiers. The use of chemical weapons highlighted the increasing brutality and desperation of the conflict. Trench warfare, a defining feature of the war, led to the development of new tactics and strategies. The static nature of trench lines required innovative approaches to break stalemates, leading to the development of coordinated artillery barrages and infantry assaults. These changes in warfare had lasting impacts on military strategy in the 20th century. Section 9: Overall Impact on the World. The overall impact of World War I on the world was monumental, shaping the course of history in numerous ways. The war led to the redrawing of national boundaries and the creation of new states in Europe and the Middle East. The dissolution of empires and the rise of nationalism and self-determination altered the political landscape significantly. The economic consequences of the war were severe, with many countries facing debt and financial instability. This economic turmoil contributed to social unrest and the rise of extremist political movements, particularly in Germany and Italy. The seeds of World War II were sown in the unresolved issues and resentments left by the Great War. Culturally, the war had a profound effect on art, literature, and philosophy. The disillusionment and trauma experienced by many led to new artistic movements such as modernism and surrealism, which sought to capture the complexities and uncertainties of the post-war world. In summary, World War I was a transformative event that reshaped the world politically, economically, and socially. Its legacy is still felt today, reminding us of the immense costs of conflict and the importance of striving for peace and understanding in international relations.